Oh, Lisa, let's clean the house really well this time. Okay, we're going away for 6 days. You've got plenty of time, so make sure you do a thorough job. It's good practice for you. Go for it, Lisa. Okay, I'll make sure to clean everything really well. Several days later. Hey, why can't we get into the house? I thought that might happen. What do you mean? What's going on? Lisa, what did you do? Where are you now? What happened while we were on vacation? My name is Lisa, and I'm 30 years old. I work part-time and take care of the house. I've been married to Henry for almost a year. He's 4 years older than me, and we're still in our newlywed phase. I used to dream of a cozy life just for the two of us, but things changed after we got married. We bought a house and started living together. Everything was fine at first, but then we started having issues. Honey, what are we having for dinner tonight? Lisa, what did we have for dinner last night? We had curry last night. Since it's summer, let's have something lighter tonight. Got it, something light. The problem we faced was that my husband's parents started living with us without asking. When we bought the house, we planned to live there alone, but they moved in without discussing it with me. Initially, they just visited on weekends, but it got worse. They brought their own furniture and acted like it was their home. It would have been nice if my husband had said something, but he acts very childishly around his parents. He's always asking, Mom, are you okay in this heat? Dad, are you alright? He never stands up to them. After we got married, I realized he has no spine when it comes to his parents. I've tried bringing it up when we're alone. I didn't agree to your parents moving in. Our house isn't big enough, especially when we have kids. What are we going to do? You need to talk to them and get them to leave. But all he said was this. What are you saying? If we have a kid, we can just move. I think Mom and Dad would love living with their grandchild. I'd be happy to have everyone together. My husband not only doesn't see any issues with his parents living with us, but seems to be happy about it. I've given up on him explaining things to them. I blame myself, thinking, why didn't I realize this before we got married? My husband lived with his parents until we got married. I only visited their house once when we went to introduce ourselves before the wedding, so I had no idea what his lifestyle was like. I didn't know he was so attached to his mom and dad. Living with his parents all of a sudden is stressful enough, and there's even more on top of that. Hey Lisa, there's nothing I can eat for dinner today. Can you make something else? Well, isn't fish, boiled veggies, greens, and soup okay? I'm not in the mood for fish. I wanted meat today. My mother-in-law acts like she's entitled, always finding something to complain about, this or that. We don't have any meat right now. Oh, really? Let's just order takeout then. My mother-in-law started ordering expensive appetizers, not something you typically order on a weekday. It's fine if she wants to spend her own money, but how? I'll have one of those expensive appetizers. Yes, charge it to the usual card. What? My mother-in-law had used my card without asking me. I was shocked and asked her why she did it. Because everyone will eat what I order, right? It's everyone's meal, so it's normal for you to pay, she explained confidently. Sure enough, if my mother-in-law orders a lot of food, everyone ends up eating it, including me, but why should I automatically bear the cost? I don't understand my mother-in-law's logic at all. And my father-in-law is quite a character too. If you're a wife supporting a family of 4, you have to cook both meat and fish. Everyone has different tastes, right? This is why modern women... No, you're the biggest problem here. My father-in-law doesn't criticize my mother-in-law for her whims. Instead, he seems to agree with her and blames me, imposing his old-fashioned views on me. They're quite similar in their thinking. It seems like modern people can't handle even the simplest tasks these days. It's a real issue. Thank goodness for delivery. Yes, there are so many options for delivery now. I prefer delivery every day over Lisa's cooking. My in-laws enjoy mocking me, even though I'm the one paying for their food, living expenses, and even the mortgage for this house. Why should I be treated this way? Anger started to build up inside me, accumulating. Having my in-laws in the house made me feel like being at work was better. Luckily, work was going well, and there was talk of a promotion. I was offered a project leader role, and I accepted both opportunities. I thought that staying busy would reduce my stress from home. The days when I can't cook have increased, and if my in-laws order delivery, I've learned to accept it. My priority now is to distance myself from my in-laws. As a result, my overtime and weekend hours increased, but I felt fulfilled and energetic. Just when I thought I could handle everything, something unexpected happened. On a Friday night after work, I arrived home to find the house completely dark. It was odd that my husband and in-laws weren't there. It was too early for them to be asleep. As I walked in puzzled, I noticed a note on the table. It said, "We're going on a trip. Back on Sunday." What? I didn't know anything about a trip. What made me even more upset was the messy room filled with takeout containers and drink bottles. It was typical for my in-laws and husband not to clean up, but they could have at least thrown away the trash before leaving. Frustrated, I raised my voice, though no one was there to hear me. Feeling empty, I started picking up the trash and cleaning. As I sighed while tying up the trash bags, a troubling thought struck me. How did they even afford this trip? A wave of shock hit me. I quickly opened my banking app and checked the credit card transactions. This can't be happening. Several $1,000s were charged by what seemed to be a travel agency. Panicked, I tried calling my husband, but he didn't pick up. Fighting the urge to throw my phone in frustration, I decided to check my husband's social media. There it was, beautiful beach. So stunning. A picture of a bright blue sky and a beautiful beach. The people in the photo didn't look American. Could it be true? Digging further, I found they were in Bali. I never imagined they would take an international trip, and I felt drained. I hate to admit it, but my husband doesn't earn much. Most of our income comes from my job. I've been saving diligently because I worry about our future. That was before my in-laws moved in. The idea of my husband and his parents using my money to enjoy a resort made my anger boil over. All the vague stress I'd been feeling started to crystallize into clear questions. Why do they do this? How did they feel about it? What were they thinking about the future? It felt like an endless cycle of thoughts. I knew I needed to take action about my life. When my husband and in-laws returned from their trip, slightly sunburned, I was seething with irritation, though I kept quiet. We had such a great time. Traveling abroad is definitely worth it, and we found the food and accommodation quite affordable. My in-laws chirped. I bit my tongue to stop myself from asking who they expected to foot the bill for all of this. Let's plan another trip, Mom, Dad. My husband chimed in, chatting with his parents. He seemed so immature, like a child begging for a summer vacation. At 35 years old, seeing him like that filled me with disgust. I prepared dinner in frustration. Stay calm. Just focus on cooking, I muttered to myself, moving mechanically. Then, oh dear, there's so much dust here, my mother-in-law remarked, running her fingers over a houseplant's leaves. That's not good, my father-in-law murmured, giving me a quick glance. You didn't clean while we were away. What kind of day off was that? What? I couldn't help but ask again. If you've kept the house clean all the time, I would have taken you on the trip. I didn't invite you because I was thinking about you and your housework. Isn't that right, Mom and Dad? My husband said this seriously. Thanks for considering that, I replied, holding back my anger. My face twitched and I turned away, pretending to get ingredients from the fridge. Inside, I was shouting, "Are you kidding me?" I couldn't believe it. They left the house messy, took a vacation with my money, and now they were saying this. Checking the credit card transactions while they were away only made me angrier. Did they go to a spa or fancy restaurants? Even in Bali, where things are cheaper, there were large charges constantly added. How much have they spent without asking me? I couldn't stop thinking about it. Hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands. Doing some quick mental math, a couple $1,000s wasn't out of the question. And with them taking over the entire household, it could be even more. I was beyond frustrated. Once they got a taste of using my money for trips, my husband and in-laws started going away more often. My credit card was being used routinely, but I didn't intervene for months. I silently watched my husband and in-laws' foolish spending. Then one day, my mother-in-law said, "We're going to Hawaii. Can you increase the credit card limit?" "Sure, I understand," I replied. My mother-in-law was completely disregarding me. Did she think I'd just obey her every command? Did she expect me to buy a new swimsuit at her age? She was flipping through a swimsuit catalog, clearly excited. Well, since she was using my money anyway, I thought, just wait and see. I quietly increased the limit without a word to my cheerful mother-in-law, who was so absorbed in the catalog that she didn't notice. On the day they left for Hawaii, the room was messier than ever. My husband and in-laws were rushing around packing, paying no mind to cleaning up. "Oh, Lisa, make sure you clean thoroughly this time," my mother-in-law instructed me. "It's a long trip, 6 days. You've got plenty of time to practice your housework skills, my father-in-law added. Good luck with the chores, Lisa, my husband said, oblivious to the situation. What is he talking about? Seeing it was about time, all three of them started to rush. Their chatting and leaving looked genuinely fun. Understood, I'll make sure to clean thoroughly. They probably didn't hear me due to their chatter. I said it to their backs. 6 days later, the day my husband and in-laws were to return home, I was gazing at the night view. Even though it was a weekday, I had taken a rare paid day off and was enjoying a drink in a lavish hotel. My husband called. I let out a sigh, left my seat, and answered the call. Hello? What the hell is going on? I can't get into the house. My husband sounded quite panicked. I thought as much, I said calmly. What do you mean? What's happening? It's not surprising my husband was freaking out. After all, the house was vacant. There should be a for sale sign at the entrance, and not a single piece of furniture should be visible from the windows. Lisa, what have you done? Explain. Where are you? What did you do while we were away? I could hear my mother-in-law and father-in-law yelling in the background. I cleaned up, just as ordered, I answered nonchalantly. While all three were left stunned, I decided to explain. I went ahead and put the house up for sale. The land too. It's completely clean now. Nothing's left inside. You foolish woman, my father-in-law yelled. You mean, what foolish thing have I done? Who's been doing foolish things, I wonder? You all sure had a great time using your daughter-in-law's money and living it up. Look, Lisa, don't be mean. Quickly change it back. What are we supposed to do? You'll also be in trouble without a place to live, right? My husband pleaded in a voice that sounded almost teary. I won't have a problem. The house was bought by me in the first place, and all I did was sell it. I've decided on my new place to live. Yes, the house was purchased with my considerable income. Of course, it's under my name. It was a house to which my husband had no rights. How could you? It was our home. How could you sell it without permission? My mother-in-law said. Please save your sleep talking for when you're asleep. It was never your home to begin with. You were just freeloading, right? Parasiting off me, right? I've made up my mind. I can't continue like this, losing everything. I need to exterminate and rid myself of these harmful pests. How dare you speak to Mom like that? The words bellowed from my husband were met with my swift retort. You're a pest too. I want a divorce. I'm going to demand my money back, which you've recklessly spent. I've already consulted with my attorney. The amount. I could relay the amount. I heard a loud clatter on the other end. It seemed that my husband, in shock, had dropped the phone. What happened, Henry? What's wrong? The voices of my mother-in-law and father-in-law echoed, clearly worried for their son. Oh, Dad. My husband started crying like a child through the phone. I could only pull back in disbelief, knowing that any further conversation would be futile. I hung up the phone, sitting back down. I sighed. It had become second nature to me, but today was different. It was a sigh of relief. At last, I finally cleaned house. Good job, I toasted to myself, sipping champagne. My husband and in-laws seemed to have no choice but to return to their family home. They had nowhere else to go after all. During the months from my decision to divorce until I actually brought it up, I found out that their home had turned into a hoarder's paradise. When I visited to introduce myself before marriage, the place didn't seem so disheveled. They must have hired professionals to temporarily tidy it up. Their house had a long-standing reputation in the neighborhood as a hoarder's home. Perhaps a messy house suits my messy husband and in-laws more than a clean one. Though my husband was reluctant about the divorce, he quickly accepted when confronted with my attorney. Sobbing, he even signed the agreement to pay me back the money they spent. It's not an amount he could easily afford with his salary, but it's only fair since he was the one who created the situation, recklessly indulging in luxuries with other people's money. And so I managed to completely sever ties with my troublesome family. However, I must regret the fact that I married such a man in the first place. Before he got married, I somehow managed to spin his troublesome traits in a positive light, finding him charming and laid back despite his age. Maybe I was too desperate as I approached my 30s. While occasionally venting about this to my colleagues, I go about my daily work. Will I be single forever from now on? You're still young. Don't say things like that. I appreciate the subordinates who play along with my complaints and jokes. You're right. I shouldn't give up hope. That's right. Would you consider someone younger? Was that a joke? Looking up, I saw my subordinate's face was serious. Don't hoard unnecessary things. Cleaning is important. But maybe, just maybe, I don't need to give up hope. These days, I find myself pondering such things.